Welcome back, everyone, to the deep dive. I think a lot of us, maybe even most of us, are kind of fascinated by this whole idea of Barakah, right? Like, who doesn't want more time? And not just more time, more like meaningful time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it seems like everyone's always chasing after it, trying to squeeze every last drop out of the day.
Totally. But the thing is, I think just trying to cram more stuff in, that's not really what Barakah is about. It's not just about quantity.
Yeah, it's deeper than that, right?
Yeah.
There's this whole other dimension that's kind of like sacred or blessed quality to time that we're looking for.
For sure. And that's exactly what we're going to be diving deep into today. Trying to understand this whole concept of Barakah beyond just simply having more of something.
Like, how can we experience that blessing, that sense of divine grace?
Precisely. And we've got some great sources to help us unpack this. A really thought-provoking YouTube talk by Dr. Omar Suleiman.
Oh yeah, he's fantastic.
And then this other text packed with hadith and practical tips.
So yeah, basically our mission today is to figure out how to actually cultivate more of this barakah in our lives, right? Using these sources as our guide.
Absolutely. So how about we jump right in?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so right off the bat, both our sources emphasize this one practice, and it might sound surprisingly basic, starting your day early.
Makes sense.
Dr. Suleiman even quotes the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, saying, "Allah bless my nation in its early hours."
Wow. I never really thought about it like that before.
Right, and he also points out that the Prophet consistently started his important work in the early part of the day.
So it wasn't just a random thing, like it was intentional.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He was actively seeking that early blessing. Now, if we connect this to our other source, the one with all the hadith, it gets even more interesting.
How so?
It mentions that angels are present and witnessing the Fajr prayer, which is the pre-dawn prayer.
Whoa, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so like starting your day with prayer, when the world is still quiet, it's almost like you're tapping into a time of heightened spiritual energy or something.
That's pretty powerful.
Right. And there are all these specific morning dhikr, remembrances of God that are recommended.
Oh yeah, like what?
So things like reciting Ayat al-Kursi, it's this specific verse in the Qur'an that's believed to offer protection.
Okay.
And then there are these morning adhkar from Hisnul Muslim. These are a set of supplications for like overall well-being and protection throughout the day.
Okay, interesting.
Oh, and also reciting Surah Al-Falaq and An-Nas. There are these two short chapters in the Quran that are meant to shield you from harm.
Wow. So basically a whole arsenal of spiritual tools to start your day off right.
Right. And our sources really emphasize that what you do first thing in the morning matters. Like, what's the first thing you reach for when you wake up? Is it your phone?
Yeah, probably for most people.
So they suggest trying to avoid screens as that first thing and instead connect with the divine, through prayer and remembrance. It's like setting the tone for the whole day.
Makes sense.
Okay, so moving on to the next point. And this one might seem a bit more obvious, but it's actually super important for cultivating Barakah. It's about avoiding sins.
Yeah, that makes sense, but I feel like sometimes that can be easier said than done.
Totally. It's definitely not always easy.
Nope.
But Dr. Suleiman shares this really beautiful analogy. He talks about how sin extinguishes the light in your heart.
Oh, wow, I like that.
Right. He actually quotes Imam Shafi's teacher advising him like that, to not extinguish the light in his heart with the darkness of sin.
It's a powerful image.
Yeah. And both our sources are super clear that sin directly decreases Barakah in your life.
In all areas of life, right? Like not just spiritually.
Exactly. Our sources mention it can affect your wealth, your time, even your intellect.
Really?
It's like when you knowingly do something wrong, it creates this blockage. It hinders the flow of blessings. And you know what else Dr. Suleiman talks about? Something he calls drama. And it's not just about the big sins, it's about all that unnecessary mess we get ourselves into.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like getting caught up in arguments, holding on to grudges.
Or gossiping, right?
Exactly. All that stuff drains our energy and steals our time.
And it just creates so much negativity.
For sure. So basically, by avoiding sin and this drama, we're actually freeing up space for blessings to enter.
We're clearing out the clutter, right?
Precisely. And that brings us to our next point, which might seem kind of counterintuitive at first, but it's crucial. It's about spending time with family.
Oh, interesting. Like prioritizing family time.
Exactly.
But isn't that hard when we're already so busy?
Totally. It can feel like a luxury, right? Like something we just don't have time for.
Right.
But Dr. Suleiman cites this narration that says maintaining strong family ties actually increases wealth and leads to a longer life.
Seriously.
Yeah. And our other source, the one with the hadith, has this really powerful statement. It says that broken ties brings spiritual dryness, but reconnecting them brings divine expansion.
Okay, I like that.
Right. It's about nurturing those relationships, letting those connections flourish.
But what does longer life actually mean in this context?
Well, the scholars interpret it in a few different ways. Some say it refers to good health or to having more time to do good deeds.
Okay, that makes sense.
Others say it means leaving behind a good legacy or even a literal extension of your lifespan.
So it's not just about living longer, it's about living better in a way.
Exactly. And the practical advice our sources give is to start with the relationship that's hardest for you.
The one you've been putting off.
Yeah, because even a small step, like saying salam, the peace greeting, can start to mend those broken ties.
And that opens the door for those blessings to flow back in.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
All right, so moving on, our next point focuses on gratitude, or shukr, as it's called in Arabic.
Oh yeah, gratitude. That's a big one.
Right. And Dr. Suleiman quotes this really powerful verse from the Qur'an. If you are grateful, I will surely increase you.
So it's not just a nice feeling, it's like a spiritual law.
Precisely. And it applies to all aspects of life. Our sources mention being grateful for your health, for your wealth, and crucially, for your time.
Okay, so gratitude for time.
Yeah.
How do we actually do that?
Well, they talk about dedicating your time to good causes, like volunteering or helping others.
Ah, so it's about using your time intentionally.
Exactly. It's not just about saying thank you, it's about showing your gratitude through your actions. And that's what brings barakah to your time.
That makes a lot of sense.
Okay, so now let's talk about the fifth point. And this one has to do with reciting the Qur'an.
Oh, I was wondering when we'd get to that one.
Specifically, Dr. Suleiman talks about Surah al-Baqarah, which is one of the longest chapters in the Qur'an.
Oh wow, that's a commitment.
Right. But he emphasizes the immense barakah that comes from reciting it consistently.
So it's worth the effort.
Apparently so. And he mentions that abandoning this practice often leads to regret.
I can see that. If it's such a source of blessing, it would make sense to miss it.
Exactly. He even says it becomes like a shield protecting you from batala.
Batala. What does that mean exactly?
It's a really interesting concept. It refers to anything that makes something vain or without lasting effect.
Okay, so it's like the opposite of barakah.
Exactly. So it could refer to things like laziness, distractions, or even more serious spiritual influences.
Interesting. So reciting this specific surah can kind of ward off those negative forces.
That's the idea. And I think the fact that it's such a long chapter emphasizes this even more. Like, dedicating that much time and effort to the Qur'an, it shows a real commitment.
And that sincerity is what attracts the barakah.
Exactly. And our other source really reinforces this. It says that the Qur'an is barakah itself.
Oh, wow, I love that.
Right.
The consistency is key.
Absolutely. And they have this great practical tip. Use Qur'an apps or listen to audio recitations during your commute or while you're doing chores.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I actually do that sometimes.
It's all about finding those little pockets of time and integrating the Qur'an into your daily life.
Makes it less daunting too, right? When you don't have to sit down and read the whole thing at once.
Exactly. Okay, so moving on to our sixth point. This one is about incorporating dhikr, which is remembrance of God, into your daily routine.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that, but I don't really know much about it.
So Dr. Suleiman quotes the Prophet, peace be upon him, saying that those who remember Allah often have already gone ahead.
Meaning they're ahead spiritually.
Exactly. It's like they've fast-tracked their spiritual progress through constant remembrance.
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
Right. And the key here is that dhikr isn't just something you do at specific times, like during prayer. It's meant to be a continuous practice woven throughout your day.
Oh, interesting.
Like Dr. Suleiman mentions that the Prophet's tongue was constantly moist with the remembrance of God.
Whether he was working, walking, even eating.
Exactly. It was like an ingrained habit, something he did without even thinking about it.
That makes a lot of sense.
And there's this really cool story in our other source about a baker who was constantly remembering God. And because of that, he received incredible blessings in this life and the next.
Wow, so it's not just about theory, it's something that actually works.
Exactly. Okay, so our seventh point focuses on the importance of your social circle.
Oh, interesting, like who you hang out with.
Exactly. It's about surrounding yourself with people who are productive and righteous.
So like positive influences.
Yeah, exactly. And Dr. Suleiman suggests seeking out environments where God is frequently remembered.
So it's not just about who you hang out with, but where you hang out too.
Right. It's about being in spaces that nurture your soul, you know?
Yeah, I get that.
And there's this great story about Ibn Abbas, who was a companion of the Prophet. He was known for prioritizing seeking knowledge from other companions over, like, leisure activities.
So he was really serious about his learning.
Yeah. And it highlights this idea that good company can really accelerate your growth and bring you closer to God.
Definitely.
And the last thing Dr. Suleiman emphasizes is this idea of mutual encouragement.
Mutual encouragement. What does that mean exactly?
It's about supporting each other on the path to goodness, encouraging each other to be patient, to do good deeds, and to remember God.
Okay, I like that. Because it's definitely easier to stay on track when you've got people around you who are doing the same thing.
For sure. And now our other source actually provides a whole bunch of additional tips for increasing barakah.
Oh, cool. Let's hear them.
Okay, so one of the big ones is giving sadaqah regularly, which, as we mentioned earlier, is voluntary charity.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be a huge amount. It's more about consistency.
Makes sense.
And one hadith mentions that it purifies your wealth and protects you from harm.
Really? So it's like an investment in your own well-being.
Exactly. And they actually have this really cool bonus tip.
What is it?
Setting up automated small daily donations. So like instead of giving a big chunk all at once, you give a little bit every day.
I love that idea.
It's brilliant, right? Because it turns giving into this continuous act.
And that creates a continuous flow of blessings.
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. What else?
The next one is praying on time.
Makes sense.
And the source emphasizes that praying on time is a sign of love for God.
Wow.
And it also says that delaying prayer drains barakah from your time.
Oh, interesting. So it's not just about fulfilling the obligation, it's about the timing too.
Precisely. And the bonus tip here is to learn the meaning of what you're reciting in prayer.
Yeah, I can see how that would make a huge difference. Instead of just going through the motions, you actually understand what you're saying.
Totally. It transforms prayer into this conscious conversation with God.
I love that.
Okay, next up is Taqwa, which is often translated as God consciousness. And our source explains that living with Taqwa brings you unseen help and blessings from everywhere.
Like God is always looking out for you.
Exactly. And the bonus tip here is what they call micro-Taqwa.
Micro-Taqwa. That sounds interesting.
It's about being mindful of even your small everyday actions.
Like being aware of God in every moment.
Yeah, like catching yourself when you're about to do something negative, even if it's something small, and consciously choosing to do the right thing instead.
Okay, that makes sense. It's like practicing mindfulness, but with a spiritual dimension.
Exactly. Okay, the next point has to do with honesty in business.
Oh, that's an important one.
Yeah. The source emphasizes that being honest and ethical in your dealings is rewarded, just like giving charity.
Wow, really?
Yeah, it's like your integrity becomes a form of worship.
That's pretty powerful.
And they even suggest reciting a specific dua for barakah in your business.
A dua, like a prayer.
Exactly. It's basically asking God to bless your business and increase its success.
Okay, I like that.
Next up is seeking forgiveness often.
Through istighfar, right?
Yeah. And the source describes it as a kind of spiritual detox.
A detox, what did that mean?
It means that seeking forgiveness cleanses your heart and mind and brings you peace.
Okay, I can see that.
And it also says that istighfar can improve your health and increase your provision.
Wow, really?
Yeah. And the source mentions that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, used to seek forgiveness over 100 times a day.
Seriously? That's a lot.
Right. It shows how important it is. And they have this awesome bonus tip. Engage in silent istighfar throughout the day.
Silent istighfar. What's that?
It's basically just repeating the words of seeking forgiveness in your mind.
Okay.
So you can do it while you're walking, cooking, doing chores, anything.
So it becomes like a constant state of purifying yourself.
Precisely. Okay, and our last point is about having good intentions, or niyya, in everything you do.
Intentions, yeah.
The source emphasizes that good intentions can multiply the reward for even the smallest actions.
Even simple things.
Yeah, like even just taking a nap can become an act of worship if your intention is to rest, so you can have more energy to serve God later.
Wow, that's amazing.
Right, and they suggest having the intention to renew your strength for worship before you go to sleep.
So you're basically starting your day with that intention even before you wake up.
Exactly.
So basically, Barakah isn't just this magical thing that happens, it's something we actively cultivate.
That's a great way to put it. And I think that's what our sources really drive home. It's about making conscious choices, aligning ourselves with God's will, and actively inviting those blessings into our lives.
And there's so many different ways to do it. It's almost overwhelming.
I know, right? But I think that's actually a good thing.
How so?
Because it means that there's something for everyone. You don't have to do everything perfectly. Just pick one or two things that resonate with you and start there.
Yeah, that's good advice. Don't try to do too much all at once.
Exactly. Start small, be consistent, and see what happens.
So I'm curious, for you personally, what's one thing you're going to focus on?
That's a good question. I think I'm going to try to be more intentional about starting my day with prayer and dhikr.
That's a great goal.
What about you?
I think I'm going to focus on gratitude. Really trying to appreciate all the blessings in my life, even the small ones.
I love that.
And, this brings up a really interesting question for all our listeners to consider. Thinking back on everything we've talked about today, what's one small shift you could make in your life that you think would have the biggest impact on cultivating Barakah?
It's a great question to reflect on, and maybe even revisit some of these sources and explore them further.
Exactly, because there's always more to learn and discover.
Absolutely. Well, that about wraps it up for today's deep dive. We hope you found it insightful and maybe even a little bit inspiring.
Definitely. And we hope you feel empowered to go out and create more Barakah in your own life.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.